Hey everyone, in today's video, we're going to be solving the problem merge intervals on Leetcode. So the problem says given an array of intervals where interval I is equal to start I, comma end I, merge all the overlapping intervals and return an array of non-overlapping intervals that cover all the intervals in the input. Okay, so what the question says here is that you're given a list of intervals over here. Okay. And what you need to do over here is you need to merge all the overlapping intervals. So let's say in this question over here, 1 to 3 is the start and end time, right? And in the second interval, you have 2 to 6. But 2 lies between 1 and 3, right? So this means this is an overlapping interval, and you need to produce an output over here, something as 1 comma 6. Okay, so this would give you a merged interval rather than an overlapping interval over here. Okay, so you can see over here, 1 and 6 is one of the intervals. Now, as you go forward, you see 8 to 10. Now, 8 to 10 does not lie between 2 and 6, right? 8 does not lie between 2 and 6. So this means that it's not going to be an overlapping interval. And neither does 10 lie between 15 and 18. So it does not lie between any of those. So 8 and 10 is one of your answers in the output. And lastly, when you look at 8, 15, and 18, again, 15 does not lie between 8 and 10, so it's not an overlapping interval. And over here, even with 6, 6 does not lie between 8 and 10, so it's not an overlapping interval, and we do not need to do anything over here. Okay, so this is 15 and 18. So let's just assume one more thing. Let's say that you're given something like, let's say 9 comma 9 over here. If you're given something like 9 comma 9 over here, you can see that 9 is an overlapping interval of 8, overlapping between 8 to 10, right? So we have to merge these intervals together, and you probably know what you'll get. You'll again get an 8 to 10 because both the nines lie between these values. But again, let's say if we had something like an 11 over here, except for a 9, then our merged interval would have been an 8 to 11. And these 10 and 9 would lie between both of them, right? And also, let's say we have a 19 over here. Okay, so if we have a 19 over here, this means that our final answer over here would have been 8 to 19, right? But if you look at this also, this 15 and 18 both lie between this interval again. So this will not be out in the output again, and this would have been our final output. Okay, so I hope you understand what the question is. Now, how do we solve this problem? Okay, so let me just undo all of this once. Yeah, so to solve this problem, a pretty easy approach. So firstly, because the intervals are not given in a sorted manner, right? You need to sort the intervals first. Okay. After sorting the intervals, you'll probably get the same, sequence over here. Okay, as the question is given, but you need to sort it because this question is not given in a sorted manner. After you sort the interval, what you'll do is you'll loop through, and firstly, you keep and result array over here. Okay, and that result array will firstly just check whether it's empty or not. If it's empty, it'll just directly include the very first interval over here. Let's say it's 1 and 3. Like, it will directly append 1 and 3. Now, as we go forward in the loop, what we'll do is we'll check the very last element of the very last element of the index array, which is 1 comma 3, and we'll check the very last index over here, which is 3, with the very first index of the second element over here with 2, and we'll check which is greater. Now here, if 3 is greater than 2, which means that so let me just write it over here. If result of -1, which means the very last element of the result array, and if the very first element of it is greater, then the current interval, which is I, and its very first value, if this is greater, right? This means that we need to merge these intervals together. And how would we merge these intervals? We would just take the very last element together of it, and we'll just append those values. What we'll do is basically we'll just take the very last element like this, -1, okay? And result I of -1 of 1, okay? And we'll just check with the intervals very last element, which is I of 1, and we just max it out. Okay, and when we max it out, we'll get the very maximum value among these. So over here, 3 is the maximum element we had, and here 6 is the maximum element we have. Right, and we'll just check which is the greatest among them. So 6 is greater among these two. This means that the whole value will lie between 1 and 6. So we'll just change the very last element, result of minus 1, which will be equal to basically just 1 and 6 over here. Okay, and we'll just append this to the array. And this will be basically we'll just change the values over here to 1 and 6. We'll not append it. We'll just change the values over here to 1 and 6. Right? After that, we'll just go forward in the array. We'll just keep on checking with the values. Now, when we go to 8 to 10, we see that 6 is not greater than 8, which means that this is not an overlapping interval, and we can go forward now. Right? Then we'll check for 10 and 15. Now again, 10, 15 does not lie between 10, nor does 10 lie between any of these values. So it will not be an overlapping interval, and we'll probably just get the output over here. Let me just show you how this would look when we code it out. Okay, so I have the code over here. Let me just dry run the whole thing for you once. It'll be easier for you to understand. Okay, so right over here only. This is the code for the question. Right? Firstly, we're just checking if the intervals are empty, then we'll just return it, right? Otherwise, we're going to sort the intervals. After sorting, we'll just get the output in this manner of intervals. Now, for intervals, we'll loop through the intervals array over here, right? We'll check if the result array is empty or not. So currently, the very first value in the result array is going to be empty. So we'll just append it. We'll just append 1, comma 3 over here. Cool. After appending 1, comma 3, what we'll do is we'll go back in the loop. We'll check for the second element. Now, is a result of minus 1 of 1 greater than an interval of 0? Basically, is this a result of minus 1 greater than an interval 0? So right now it is. So right now it is. It isn't basically, right. It's not greater. This is not greater than this. 3 is greater than 2. So what we're going to do is we'll change the result of minus 1 like this. So what we'll do is we're going to just change this value, result of minus 1 of 1, with the max between the interval's very first value and the result of minus 1's very first last value. So we'll just check between 3 and 6, which is the max value, and we'll change it like this. Right? Now we'll go forward with 8 to 10. Okay, now we'll check again for 8 to 10. Is 6 greater than 8? So it's not greater than 8, so we'll just directly append 8 to 10 over here. And then same for 15 and 18. Okay, 15 to 18. Yeah, 1. So this is basically what the code for the question is, guys. And yeah, let's just dry run it a bit more. Let's see if we had something over here like 17 to 19. Just assume we have something like 17 to 19 over here. What we have done over here, the very last element, we would have checked for 18, the very last element of this array, which is a result of minus 1 of 1, which is 18, and we'll check with interval of 0, which is 17. So right now 17 is not greater than 18. So what we have just easily done is just take result of minus 1 of 1, just change this with the max between this value 18 and 19, which is 19 right now. So we have just changed this, and this would have been the final answer for the question. Okay, so yeah, let's just run the code, guys. Yeah, it's running, and let's submit this. All right, it's submitted. All right, so I hope you understood the problem, guys. And if you like the video, do like, share, and subscribe. Do check out my podcast, and do check out other videos on my channel as well. And if you like the video, let me know in the comments what kind of other videos you want more in the channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.